So Nextfest came and went, and I've been taking my time going through the demos I picked. My final count was around 6, but stuff is coming up, so I decided to cut it down and cover 4 games this time. These have been on my radar for a while, and I've been eager to see how they're turning out. Some demos were either too dense, or I had too many things to say about them to cram them in a roundup. So I'll wait until they either go gold, or they show up on the next Nextfest, which will probably be 2 days from now, if they keep popping up so frequently. First up, Aeromachina. Aeromachina is a 3D Metroid-like, where you control a biomechanical... I can't call it a furry, as it doesn't have fur. So an anthro? The conceit for the demo is that you're going through a training simulation that's been compromised, so you have to deal with the threat before you disconnect, or it could fry your... Does your character have a brain, or a microprocessor?
Micro what? Microprocessors.
You start with a single propeller blade as a weapon, but like any proper Metroid-like, you acquire upgrades that help you reach areas you couldn't normally access. What makes Aeromachina stand up for me is that it has, and there's no other way to describe this, character action combat. Attacking enemies puts them in a hit stun, which lets you chain combos. More importantly, certain upgrades will launch enemies into the air and juggle them to keep them suspended until they're destroyed. Also, the vertical dodge maneuver is literally Virgil's trick up. Upgrades come in both new equipment, which opens up more of the game, and incremental upgrades that give you more health, more fuel to dash away from attacks, and more ammo for your gun hand. You won't know it yet, but the glider wings become extremely important as the demo progresses. Now I'm sure you've noticed that the game has swimming PS1 textures. I know this has become a cliche art style, as it's been associated with VHS horror indie games on itch with varying degrees of quality. At first, I thought it was one of those indie dev decisions, but then I broke one of the boxes open and saw what it dropped. See these little bits right here? Little bits. Once I saw these, I sat right the fuck up. I know what you are, game. This is the second indie game on my watch list that's been inspired by Mega Man Legends with character action combat. The Metroid-like level design makes sense now, as the dungeons in Mega Man Legends are interconnected. I guess I don't have to be so red-assed about Red Ash now, huh? There are 3 enemy types in the demo: a fast melee unit, a flying range unit, and a tank that throws out bombs. These are definitely Reaverbot bombs, and does a spin attack if you're too close. The melee units are easy to deal with, but the flying enemies can chip away at your health if you don't take them seriously. They're not so bad once you get the gun hand, but you can also kick them into the ground once you get the leg upgrade. The tank units seem formidable because their bombs can really hurt, but you can parry them back for an instant kill, again, once you get the leg upgrade. Besides these enemies, there are 2 bosses you have to beat to clear the demo, and 3 optional bosses that unlock the final upgrade. The optional bosses are souped up versions of the 3 enemy types, and they can test your understanding of the game's mechanics. One of them remixes a room from a top-down maze into a full-on arena with a hurt floor. I want to highlight that final upgrade because it's the game's sprint equivalent to Metroid. You have to hold down the afterburner button to rev the engine, and then hold on the dash button to do this. Pretty cool, right? After talking with a friend, he told me you could use a thrust for movement tech, which looks like this. Now the trick is to time your jump so that your character doesn't go into that slowdown animation. In a way, it's kinda like bunny hopping because of the timing element. The afterburner's noise is really grating though, so if you don't want to keep it revved up, you can double jump after every bunny hop to maintain speed and turn around corners. Only rev the afterburner when you know you have to boost. It reminds me of the jet skates in Mega Man Legends, but the skating noise never got as bad as the afterburner. It's cool how the leg upgrade lets us parry tank bombs and charging attacks from melee units. But what if you could deflect bullets if we dash with the upgraded double propeller blade, or when you use it to do the ape escape double jump? Just throwing that out there, guys. I wasn't sure what to expect out of Aeromachina when I started it, but now I've got a 2-cake situation here, so I'm pretty hyped. The next game is a much more relaxing experience, and I could use a new cozy game after playing the Lake DLC. Gecko Gods has you playing a gecko in search of its gods. I swear, I'm not using AI to write my scripts. You explore a series of ruins situated on an island. Unlike other platformers, this one focuses on the characters. Nah, I'm fucking with you. This one features a character who can climb on any surface without having to deal with the Breath of the Wild ass stamina meter. It's similar in tone and presentation to Journey or Sable, but you have a dedicated button to Mlem. There are enemies that will be hostile to you, and it may not seem readily apparent in the controls that you have any way to deal with them, but pressing B to dash will actually hurt them, so it's more of a charging attack than a dodge maneuver. You can also use it to grab bugs with your mouth and eat them, which serves as one of the in-game collectibles. I like the vibes, and I want to see what parts of the island were locked away in the demo. The next game is a drastic shift in tone.
Hello, Exit. If it feels like something's been implanted at the base of your skull, that's because there has. It's a small explosive device, one that I can detonate at any time. It's in your best interest to listen to me.
PIGFACE plays like first-person Hotline Miami, but without the thrumming 80s synthwave, and all the enemies wearing manhunt masks and huffing helium. You use your apartment as a hub where you can customize your view model, take on jobs, and purchase weapons and gear you'll use on those jobs. There's only one job in the demo plus the tutorial, but you can replay them indefinitely and use the reward money to purchase more stuff in the shop. Before you start a job, you set up your loadout inside a van by pressing buttons tied to your weapons, support items, and faceware. Press tab to pull up your flip phone to see your objectives for the current job. Every time you complete an objective, the phone vibrates to indicate that it's crossed off your list. You have 3 slots: melee, guns, and gear. You can use your fist to pick up anything from a lead pipe to a throwing axe as a melee weapon. Mouse 1 to attack, and mouse 2 changes based on what kind of melee weapon you're holding. Blunt objects will block attacks, and bladed weapons can be aimed and thrown. Guns are simpler to manage. Mouse 1 to fire, and mouse 2 to ADS. Gear can range from syringes that restore health to landmines and grenade launchers for that extra oomph in your firepower. Enemies can have either melee weapons or guns. You can pick up any weapon that an enemy carries. You can also replenish your gun's ammo while walking over to any guns dropped by enemies if they're the same as yours. Once you've cleared all the objectives, you return to the van to leave the job site. Any weapons you're carrying when you leave the job site will be unlocked for later jobs, so this can be a way to get new stuff without spending any cash. Just by going on the guns you can unlock in the demo, I can see the replay potential by returning the jobs to try out different approaches. You can play fast and loose with an SMG and spray bullets everywhere, or use a scoped rifle to take out targets before they can spot you. You can buy attachments for any guns you've acquired and slap them on in the van before starting a job. I recommend grinding for the pump shotgun and suppressor if you want the Anton Chigurh experience.
Fuck you!
Enemies start off unaware of your presence, but I don't think you can do a true stealth run with the way the AI reacts to dead bodies. The job in the demo is a good starting map with an open field that surrounds two structures that you have to clear by checking your corners. I wonder if the lack of music is a deliberate choice to emphasize the violence, but the dev states on Twitter that he's experimenting with dynamic music, so we'll see how that affects the game's mood. The last game on this list kinda took a stray from what I said about indie horror games with the VHS PS1 aesthetic, but it manages to stand out from the rest of its ilk.
I like watching you work, Exit. I knew you'd be a good pick, and I think you know why.
So I know a guy who knows a guy who works on SSR Wives. I gave it a shot and it's pretty cool for what it is. And what it is a retro survival horror game. Tank controls, fixed cameras, the works. Now, indie retro survival horror is just as oversaturated a genre as Souls-likes, so you really gotta stand out when you make one of these. And I think they got something here. First, I really like how the camera moves around in this game. The difference between Resident Evil and Silent Hill cameras is that RE cams are mostly static and cut to different angles when you move towards the edge of the screen. Silent Hill cameras tend to follow the player on a set path and then cut away to a new angle. Sometimes the same camera angle will swing around to different anchor points to give you a unique shot. SSR Wives takes influence from Silent Hill's cameras and tracks the player for a while before cutting away to a new angle. They even swing around in certain spots to evoke the same feel as the nightmare sequence in Silent Hill 1. The other thing I noticed about SSR Wives is how it gets what Akira Yamaoka does with Silent Hill's soundtrack. It's not just scraping metal together or breathing through plastic bags. There's some rock music mixed in there to create a dynamic between harmony and cacophony. SSR Wives music doesn't completely ape Yamaoka's style. I hear some math rock in there. This game is made by diehards of the genre, if the instruction manual calling you a coward for not using tank controls is any indicator. Another great sign is how it uses the door opening animations from classic Resident Evil, but speeds them up because the devs know how boring it can be to wait for the next room to load. Also, the characters don't have the stamina of OG Silent Hill pro tags, so you won't have to hear them catch their breath every time you stop moving. I won't go into the specifics of the demo. If you're comfortable with tank controls, you know how it'll play. Something to take note of during combat is that once you ready your weapon, you can adjust the angle your character is looking to attack enemies above and below your parallel. Thing is, the game preserves that angle, and I would rather it reset the aim every time, so it shortens the distance in case I have to attack an enemy low to the ground and then a flying enemy. Also, I wish the game had a quick turn action to flip around 180 degrees without having to turn like a boat. Also, I'd like a button to reset the camera behind the player's back. The controller mapping has ready weapons set to 2 separate buttons, and I think replacing one of them with reset camera would help. I've had some technical issues with the demo, like loading a save and only getting a black screen, or a crashed desktop in the middle of the run. One of the buttons lets you go into first person mode, and it just stops working for some reason. I've asked my friend if he could relay my request to the team, so we'll see if these get implemented in the final build. Again, indie retro survival horror is well-trod ground, so to really stand out from the rest, your game has to be memorable in presentation and provide modern benefits. SSR Wives understands this, as it adapts and simplifies certain puzzles from Silent Hill. All the enemies in the demo are just big vermin, so I hope there's more variety in the full game. Okay, I think I've covered what I want to show off at this Nextfest. If the demos are still up, try out anything that's caught your eye, and give the devs some constructive feedback.